Hi, Werehog, here. 88th Brandon effort. You've probably never heard of me. Another rant video again. This time, Assassin's Creed 2. I recently beat it. I say it's been probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe. And, this is the usual shit where I just kind of rant about it. I want to just eventually will cover just the rest of the series, maybe up to Rogue. I don't think I'll go any further than that. And with this video, it's going to be a little bit more different. When it came to the first game, I mainly ranted about the weak points and strong points. And really, I just mainly talked about the story and the lack of / how the dialogue kind of saves it for me. But other than that, it really wasn't supposed to be a in-depth explanation. It was just I wanted to talk about it because Assassin's Creed later on just does things and makes me annoyed. When it comes to Origins. And I think that's just because when a series develops, you kind of just have this expectation, and when the first early games do well, you kind of expect the later games to expand and do more. But that's a whole other thing when we'll get to the other games later on. Really, whenever I do these, they're mainly just to talk about the series, and then eventually we'll try to link them up together, because these games are typically direct sequels of each other, so they try to build upon what was in the last game and then go further with it, or at least try to be unique and not just a complete repeat. Try to fix some mistakes, have to pretty it up a little, that sort of thing. Alright, let's get into it. Usual shit, no bugs, no glitches, talking about, unless it's something like this.
Yes, I'll ask, and then... He's here! Help!
What the fuck? So, Assassin's Creed 2 immediately follows up after the first game, after the cliffhanger, because Abstergo was like, alright, we're gonna kill Kilometers over here, because he's served his purpose, because we have the map that locates all the pieces of Eden. I think they're all pieces of Eden. Well, they're all artifacts of Eden, anyways. You were just kind of left at Abstergo, and then all of a sudden Lucy comes in bloodied up, and you're just gonna escape Abstergo now. Because in the last game, you also find out that Lucy was an assassin, and she was thrown away, but then she came back, and now you're here with Kilometers escaping, and a new trait, quote-unquote, happens, because you were able to use Eagle Vision in the first game, and now they make you use it again, and I guess this time Kilometers is somewhat more aware of it, because I guess the other time, when you were in your room, the fucking, tattoos or graffiti on the wall was just kind of there, and I guess he didn't realize he was using Eagle Vision. But I guess somehow he was able to detect fingerprints, and man, you wish we could have that ability in-game. That'd be a fucking lifesaver, man. You could track footprints with that shit. Anyways, you escape after getting your ass kicked. And it's kind of interesting to show, how there's at least something going on with Desmond. Even though he's, I guess, not exactly an assassin after he ran away from his family, which we learn about, I think, in Revelations. He, well, you've essentially learned that going through the Animus and learning his ancestors' past also seems to have what Lucy calls a bleeding effect, where Desmond's actually picking up the skills of his ancestors. So he picked up Eagle Vision, which is the start, which is which is what every assassin has. And as we go through the game, we're gonna learn more about the assassins and a little bit more about the artifacts, while also training Desmond himself to be with the assassins to fight Abstergo and overall the Templars, who are pretty much taking over the world at this point. And that's the whole gist of it. There's a whole other things, I'll get into them eventually. Between Assassin's Creed 1 and 2, there's a lot of changes that happen. I guess I'll kind of just list them off as I go. So, starting with, you have a new whole line of arsenals. Line of arsenals. Okay, I'm just gonna put a line of arsenals in. You have a whole new arsenal of tools and weapons. You still have obviously your sword and your like dagger or like short sword, which really hasn't changed. You have your hidden blade, but now it's a fighting tool as well, so you can throw hands with it, and it's the most broken weapon in the game in my opinion, but that's a whole other story. Once again, throwing knives returned, you can hold more of them, and you actually just buy the upgrades instead of just getting them naturally. Sorry, were you 1v1ing a horse? Not much has changed, although just later guards just take less damage, because that's about it. You got smoke bombs to run away from the enemy, or just throw it in the middle of an arena and then just stab all the enemies because they're all stupid. You have a kind of like poison for close quarters, so like you can poison a guard and they'll slowly go crazy and die and draw attention. I have used this a total of like 1 time, I think. I never really bothered with it. If you want to look stylistic, go ahead, but I feel like it just doesn't do much because you're only killing 1 target and usually you've already gotten to a confrontation. So you're rarely just gonna put him in poison. I think one time I did manage to poison like the Templars, but then I got pushed off a fucking cliff because of it. It was hilarious. Alright, sorry for clearing my throat. So, aside from the poison, you also have money as a tool. You use it for like, again, like maybe 1 section and that's it. Money just lets you distract the guards, as well as any pedestrians, because I guess free money on the ground, and I guess also guards are desperate for money because they also pick it up. Again, it's niche. You can use it for other things too. Maybe attract the other guards later on. I never bothered with it. I think it was just because I wasn't really that immersed into it, so I guess I didn't do it, but it's nice to have the option. And now, when it comes to healing, instead of healing naturally, you do have like you can just like buy medicine and use that. It does heal like a certain amount, and you can get an upgrade to have more medicine bottles on you. It's there to heal you mid-fight, so you're not completely wrecked once you're like at low health. So it's a nice pick-me-up. Yeah, I'm probably just gonna move on now. Aside from that, we have a gun. That's it. A gun. You use it in like a couple missions in Venice, but it's so late and so useless in my opinion. Because I feel like, I guess, long-range combat, but I never really bothered with it. I don't know, I feel like there's probably other ways to use it better, just maybe not in this game. It introduces a lot of things, and I feel like some of the later on, they get a bit better, in my opinion. And a couple new assassin techniques. Like, at stabbing them I think they were in Assassin's Creed 1, but I could not remember because you always walked up to them and took them out, or just killed them with the sword, as is most combat traditions in 1. That was the thing, like, in 2, you actually can, like, just get straight up kills with the hidden blade itself, but, in some well, yeah. It was just weird. It wasn't, like, as cinematic. Because in Assassin's Creed 1, you had some of them who you had a confrontation with. Other times, it was sword-to-sword combat, like when you're taking out, I guess, Maria for the worst part. Or the Doctor if you screw up like me. And also, there is technically better hand-to-hand combat, since in the first game, whenever you would fight either the Prius or the beggars or whatever, or not the beggars, the thieves, hand-to-hand combat was punch, block, punch, block, and that was it. Here you can actually counter your enemy, you can also disarm the enemy if they have a weapon, and that's it. I mean, there's also dodging and whatnot, so you don't really bother with hand-to-hand combat now. If you're a true expert, you'll realize why hand-to-hand combat is the greatest thing to ever happen, as shown in here. Alright, I'm gonna fisticuff all you motherfuckers. I'm gonna fist you so goddamn hard, you ain't even gonna see it fucking coming. He ain't ready, he ain't ready, he ain't ready! He ain't ready! This is the best fucking fisting he's gonna get in his life. Ready, he ain't ready. He ain't ready! He ain't ready! Put him in the corner! Oh, take him out of the corner. I'm about to give all of them a fucking fisting.
There
Ow.
won't be enough of you left to bury.
Fist of Fury! Who needs to play fucking dirty? Oh, ow. This is my favorite part. This shit's not fucking sensible. Requires no fucking strategy because the AI refuses to gang up on you. So you just do a bunch of this shit. Okay, alright, so that's like all your arsenals and your weapons in hand-to-hand combat and stuff. And moving on, you actually have now, so just like the first game, you had like allies that you could like, that would help you out. Obviously you had the monks and stuff, or the monks and scholars. And then a couple like mercenaries that would just try to stop the guards from chasing you. Here it's a bit different. You now have the courtesans or the hookers, or thieves to cause a distraction, or mercenaries to also cause a distraction. Yeah, all three of your allies cause a distraction. The only difference is that mercenaries actually get into hand-to-hand combat. Or just, they get into close quarters and actually try to kill the guards. Meanwhile, the courtesans and the thieves just distract the guards in different ways. The hookers distract them on the spot, while thieves chase away the guards so that they're not nowhere near the location anymore. Now, so there's actually now like shops you can go to, as I mentioned with the blacksmith. So the blacksmith obviously will sell you armor, will sell you ammunition for your throwing knives and your bullets, and will also sell you new weapons. And they're interesting for the most part. Really, the blacksmith should be selling only one weapon, and it's this one. Aside from that, once you resuscitate yourself from that goddamn clubbing, you can go to the doctor. He can heal you immediately if you're on the spot and just want to spend. And he'll also sell you medicine and poison. Next up, we have two lesser-known shops. Well, at least I really just didn't bother with them. You have the tailor, who's interesting, who sell you basically pouches to hold more of yourself, so more poison, more throwing knives. I think more smoke... Actually, no, not more smoke bombs, but more, throwing knives. I can't remember, actually. Well, there goes that. And you can also actually, from the tailor, you can buy dyes for, like, your clothing. Which is cool and all, except when you get, like, the best armor in the game, your color is locked to a specific thing. So, yeah, the dyes do kind of become pointless if you don't want to run the armor, which, I guess to be fair, you could ignore the final armor, but it is kind of the best armor in the game. It's not that hard to obtain either. And then finally, there's the artist, which is more, I guess, cosmetic, and is really there just to tick over your completion rate to 100%. Is, I guess, the best segue into this. You have, technically, a central hub, not really. Partway through the game, after you've taken out the big bads in Florence, you want to leave and head to, Montergiani, where you meet your Uncle Mario.
My thanks.
Keep the sword, Ezio.
Do I know you from somewhere?
Don't you recognize me? It's me, Mario!
And after potentially avoiding maybe a lawsuit or two, I don't know, you head into the city. You find out it's kind of run down, but it's a place where you can upgrade the city to sell better equipment, also get discounts. So, like, instead of buying your swords at Florence or Venice, you can buy them from Montergiani for a discounted price based on how much you upgrade it. You can also buy other buildings, like the military barracks, like restore the well, and inside those areas there's like chests you can get, so you kind of get like a return on payment, and overall just increase the value of it. And the more value your city has, the more passive income you generate, and that income was stored in the chest, and you can withdraw it, and eventually you just get max money, so money never becomes an issue. Kind of interesting though, just like using your funds towards actually like funding the city and getting stuff available. There's no really like goal to it aside from just brownie points and completion, but it's nice to see it. And plus, it's kind of an interesting detail, I think, where the more you upgrade the city, the more the color palette changes, if that makes sense. Like, it looks a bit more lively in that way, which is nice. Mainly, there's really 3 I'm going to talk about. There are others, but I'm not going to... But these are really the main 3. There's the codex pages, which is required to beat the game. And then there's 2 optional collectibles. There's the truth symbols and the feathers. I'll start with the truth, or really just the optional stuff in general. So, with the truth, there's weird bits in the code that was taken from Abstergo. And after analyzing it, you notice that it's subject 16 talking, who seems to have somewhat close ties to maybe Desmond, and because of that, he left messages in Ezio's past, or at least in the code that Abstergo drew. And in order to do that, you have to solve a couple puzzles, I think like 20 of them, and then you get a video about the truth where Adam and Eve stole the apple and whatnot, which is an interesting thing. They're not too terrible to find usually. I think I missed 1 or 2 at the very end, but otherwise you're usually going to be exploring around the city, and then it marks whether or not there's a truth symbol there, and then you can just find them. They're not too difficult to find. And the truth is optional. There's also the feathers, and fuck these. So there's 100 of them, and they're scattered all throughout Firenze, Venezia. I don't know why I'm speaking Italian all of a sudden, or at least failing to. All over the cities, and you collect all 100 of them because your mother went deaf after the loss of Ezio's family. Oh, spoilers, I guess, technically. And if you get all 100, she starts speaking again and thanks you for treasuring the memory of your younger brother, but I kind of just didn't bother. It does give you a new cape, which is interesting. You get the Auditore cape, which makes all guards very hostile towards you, which is goddamn hilarious. That's the feathers. I never bother with them. They don't really do much because when you get to the next game, your mother is talking anyway, so canonically you get them. And so going back to the required piece, so the other way to get more health squares is to collect codex pages. These codex pages, they act like a piece of heart. Once you get 4 of them, you get a new health square. That's about it. You use them in order to complete the final mission of the game, or at least get access to the final mission. And I guess really the last thing I'm just going to put down is that the pacing's a lot more different. You kind of go mission to mission, instead of being like, oh hey, go to person X and do tasks A, B, and C to kill target 1, and that was basically it the entire game, and then having banter between them. Here it's a lot more methodical. You kind of, I guess, learn your way through getting things, doing some missions, needing to react to certain situations, which is kind of nice. And there's a bit more variety, like sometimes taking the thieves to distract a guard or take over a certain area, or I think probably my favorite missions is doing the carnival mini games. And that's basically everything I think I've noted down in, or at least all the changes. There's probably more, probably less. I may be overthinking it, but I think at this point I really kind of just want to just dunk on the game for a bit here, because I feel like nostalgia, at least for me, blinded me to some of the more annoying parts about this game. So I feel like when comparing Assassin's Creed games, I don't think 2 was a lot better than 1. I can say that for sure. If someone is hesitant about starting with the first game, I would say then just start with Assassin's Creed 2, because it's just the better one to start with. You don't really miss a lot in the first game. All you know is Lucy did some things, and then there was also Altair shenanigans. The only time you feel like you miss something in the story is when when Kilometers gets in a dream sequence and is somehow in Acre as Altair again, and you chase a stranger to the top of the tower only to find out it's Maria, to find out that Altair actually fell in love with her and whatnot. And that's like the only time it actually feels like you witness the story of the first game, but other than that, nothing else really happens. Like overall, the game just kind of controls better, and you just kind of play the story. It's not like you're halted by like doing menial tasks that don't seem interesting, and then it's not like, oh hey, in order to get the full story about this person, you need to do the extra task to get like full synchronization, and it's just a whole thing. I have a lot more nitpicks with this that just kind of feel like, I guess, like going back. So there's a lot of things I feel like this game just doesn't do well, and like even though it is a nostalgia trip for many, it's just still a nitpick just because of what it was trying to do. Like when it's still from the first game, the short blade was goddamn useless. It was the same fucking attack strength as your regular sword. Like nothing changed. And here in the second game, it's still fucking useless. Like you have like different attack animations, like different counters, but other than that, nothing has changed, and it's just useless. There's no point of it. Fights have become a lot more boring. So when at least in 1, you had to kind of react if certain enemies were going to like do a switch up and make you can't counter, but now you kind of really don't get punished if you hit the wrong input that bad. Like the enemies don't really gang up on you. They kind of wait one at a time, I guess. In hell, if you're really in a pickle, you can just use the hidden blade, because the hidden blade is the most broken weapon in the goddamn game. See, normally most weapons, even if you counter, you won't get the full kill. But with the hidden blade, for some reason, sometimes you just get a free kill because the enemy doesn't know how to counter it. Other times, usually when you swing with a sword, you'll get punched back. Not with the hidden blades, unless the enemy's big. So the hidden blade just kind of becomes your best weapon in the game. In terms of weapon variety, it's all meh. Like, you just have swords and hammers and clubs, and that's it. You can pick up a couple Easter egg weapons, like fishing rods or the broom, as I showed back earlier. Other than that, there's not much to it, so like you don't really feel that. And again, when you get near the end, you eventually get to a point where you can just buy Altair's sword, which is the strongest sword in the game. It just maxed out all stats, so I just wait because, again, I don't feel like I'm gaining any stronger with my weapons. Just because all the enemies have the same amount of like health squares, so I don't really notice a difference in how strong it is. Some enemies obviously go down faster with the later weapons, like from the early on, but you're not going to really witness that since the enemies also kind of scale up to your thing. The side content is just busy work, since it's just achievement points and money, like races, messengers, assassin contracts. They're just there. There's no like intriguing bits to it. So it's just more of just busy work, and I just didn't bother doing it. And another thing is, so I mentioned the allies. The mercenaries are just goddamn pointless. Like, you're not really going to get into a confrontation and then be like, oh, I want the mercenaries to deal with it, just because the AI is not the greatest in combat. They can do a couple things, it's just slow. I never buy mercs. At best, I usually buy Cortesians just to distract a guard. I think I did it once, and that, like once or twice, maybe that was it. Otherwise, I use the thieves only because the game forced me to in the mission where you had to save them or use them to distract guards in order to steal pieces of armor. The poison, as I mentioned, is just kind of meh because you don't really have a good opportunity to use it, in my opinion. That's really it. So those are just like kind of my nitpicks. And at this point, I kind of just want to go off on a bit of a tangent here with, the game really kind of blinds you with nostalgia. You remember all these great moments, like talking with Leonardo, using the flying machine, going to different cities, having fun in Venezia, especially when Carnival comes around. I feel like that's my favorite part, at least. Other great moments, well, not exact great moments, but at least like kind of like heavy-hitting moments, like seeing what happens at the beginning of the game, how the game kind of throws you into the midst of it, how you try to immediately take the first life, and then how deep of a rabbit hole you went down into, to like the final bits of the story when everything kind of comes together and you're piecing everything and you're finally getting like a full story. Like that all works. It's just the in-between sections is kind of what most of what you're going through, and if it doesn't hit right, or like they do things and add things that don't mean anything, then I feel it kind of falls flat out. That's why 2 is just like a good start, but it really shouldn't be like the pedestal we put everything on. At least for me, like I was like hyped to go into Assassin's Creed 2 until I realized like how much of a lot of a dry air there is, like just as much as like AC1. And that's just kind of that's my fault for like, I guess, using nostalgia as my defense for protecting this game. Obviously, I still love the Assassin's Creed, at least the franchise, but it can be a bit annoying to deal with some of these issues. Like overall, the game is fine until you realize there's the DLC, which is probably my last bit of rant here that I'm gonna go on about, that I've kind of been, I guess, leading up to, because overall the story was short, you know? You eventually try to kill Uberto, but he fail, or you fail anyways, and he doesn't get the apple. You try to chase him, but there's no point when you have the apple on your person. And so you meet up with the others. You've learned that every single assassin has been training you in some ways, except Volpe, because the guy's just clueless and just didn't tell Mario about the fucking hitting the crypts. But that's a story for another time, and that story is never, because I never talked about the fucking assassin tombs. Or do I wish to? Did you know that there's a Kraken, though? So after talking with the other assassins and getting properly indebted to the cult, I guess, you normally, on the PS3, would go straight to the final mission of the game. In the PC version, by some goddamn force of nature, Ubisoft put in a DLC. You would think DLC, oh hey, more content. No, it's fucking terrible. So apparently these 2 missions were normally supposed to be in the game, because in the final mission, if you do not have all the codex pages, you get stopped at the front door. Remember, this is on the PS3. And you're told that Ezio had all of the codex pages. And if you just like couldn't find one, that's fine, because Rebecca states that somewhere along the way, or it might have been Lucy, I don't remember, Ezio just has a map that has every location of the codex pages, like every place where it can be. Those 2 missions somewhat explain the story as well as the power of the apple. So, we're gonna start... Actually, you know what? No. I'm gonna let Pastware explain what happens. Essentially, it's a matter of, like, you kill fucking, like, 2 people in this first mission. That's it. Because what I'm gonna show you is what essentially is one whole mission and then another one. The first one is the fucking Battle of $4, or the Battle of Forley, whichever how you call it. And you kill 2 people called, like, the Oreo brothers. And this one is just boring as shit. The only thing interesting is this Eldritch monstrosity is involved. Like, this is like the best you're gonna get it. But otherwise, this DLC is pure fucking boring. Or your brother's $4. Don't forget Eldritch Monstrosity. Never forget the Eldritch Monstrosity. It's a magical treat. I didn't like. I watched a video on it, and it is so fucking boring. You kill 2 people, and like the best scene you get is like you have Katarina do this one maneuver of. And like that, like that, like that, like that. Just flashing her skirt at someone. And that's really about it. It's nothing good. It's the Battle of Forley, but I call it the Battle of $4. because that's how much that DLC costs. This is one mission, and it costs $4 fucking. And then there's the fucking. Then the next one is just the fucking Let me just give me a here. It's called the Bonfire. It's the Bonfire of Vorniculi. I call it the Bonfire of Mid, or the Bonfire of $5, because that's how much the other DLC cost. You paid $10 for 2 extra missions, and they're both fucking shit. I think it's in the console versions. It's specifically, I think, the console version, or the fact that later on the AC2 hasn't. It was exclusive to the PS. No, it wasn't exclusive. It was a limited time to get it, not exclusive. You could get it on PC, but again, you had to go through the Ubisoft store or the PSN store and Microsoft store, whatever they called it for 360. The fucking Bonfires of Mid. It's just dumb. It's just like across like the entire fucking map, you just have to go to like A, B, C, D, E, F, like all these fucking locations, and then kill like 9 fucking people. And that's it. Do you get any build from them? No, you're just gonna kill them. And for some reason, like, some of these, like maybe this one, or this one, or this one, is like, don't get caught. While the other ones are just, murder them. And I don't know why. It's fucking terrible. The only, like, good thing about it is the speech, Altair gives. So, yeah, that kind of really soured my mood, because what was supposed to be the last fucking stream ended up to be one more, because I had to do the goddamn Battle of fucking Mid a couple times, a little bit longer, and I had to do that off screen, because I was not about to witness just... the Bonfires of Mid are fucking terrible, I'm sorry. That triggered some memories. Anyways, so that's just kind of that. I just wanted to throw that in there, the DLC. Overall, the game does what it does, at least upgrade itself from 1, but there's not a lot in there. There is a better story, however, the actual mechanics and gameplay haven't really changed, because even though they added new tools, the game was never felt like you were able to use them. At least for me, just because I just mainly relied on old reliable stuff, but other than that, there's not much else to it. That, I think I've, like, done everything and linked up, because I'm not really gonna go into much. I know there are, like, a lot of things I can talk about, but I just wanted to focus on more of the nitpicks, and just how nostalgia for me is kind of dangerous, because, like, I'll hold some games up to a pedestal, and, like, I'm willing to play through. Meanwhile, when I touch a new game and it doesn't intrigue me, I just kind of give up by other games and whatnot. So that's just on me for thinking that way, which I guess I'm curious to see what happens when I move on to the next game, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. That's it. If you want to see it, I usually stream Saturdays. Usually I just stream on Saturday nights. That's about it. Twitch.tv/SwearIg88. Have a good one.